The blokes at the Centraga compound paid me to keep you away. Said you'd only muck up their plans. Are you holding me hostage? Not exactly, Mike said too casually. Well, then exactly what is this? Centraga sends crisis managers down here every year, he replied. They go back with shiny reports saying everything's under control. Meanwhile, we stay out here working with the cartels, moving some product, making extra off their cocoa. He flashed a grin as if it was no big deal. The best thing you can do? Cooperate, cash your big paycheck, enjoy a little jungle time, then go home. He gave a quick shrug. Simple, yeah? That's not simple, and it's not right, Leah snapped. I trusted you, and now I find you're the biggest threat to me. Mike shook his head. Nah, I'm not your biggest threat. He jerked his chin toward the hut. He is, sitting over there with Maria. Leah turned and caught Alejandro watching her, a slow grin spreading across his face. It wasn't friendly. The hair on her arms rose. She shivered and looked away. What do you plan to do with me? She asked. There will be people looking for me. Doubt it, Mike said smugly. Anyone looking? They'll call the compound and they'll say you're out in the field. No one will think twice. By the time you get back to Houston, they'll assume the local peons just forgot to pass along messages. Happens all the time. He leaned back, arms crossed. We'll keep you safe, well-fed, and out of the way. Then you'll fly home, write up a glowing report, and they won't send another crisis manager for a year. Everyone wins. I can't stay out here for 2 months. I'm already being eaten alive by bugs, and there's no place to shower or even wash my clothes. The words startled her the moment they left her mouth. Shower? Laundry? Why was she worried about that when her life might be over before she needed clean clothes again? Maybe because the last time she'd showered was 4 days ago, back in Houston. We use the river water for showers, Mike said with a snicker. Leah didn't answer. She wasn't amused. Her body crawled, her skin burned, and her mind raced. She turned sharply and walked toward the river, stripping off her clothes as she went. Modesty was irrelevant now. Her head throbbed. She needed space. She needed something, anything she could control. Mike and Alejandro were gone when Leah woke to the smell of something frying over the fire. Maria was cooking. No surprise there. She figured the men went back to wherever they had vanished yesterday. She'd meant to ask, but hadn't. Asking Maria was pointless with the language barrier. Leah washed the dishes in the same 2 grimy buckets Maria used for everything. When she was done, they sat across from each other in silence. Maria slicing vegetables, her toddler playing in the dirt nearby. Leah wanted to say something. Anything. Instead, she reached for an empty beer bottle from the day before, held it up, and pointed toward the jungle, the direction Maria had gone to retrieve the cold drinks. She pointed at herself, at Maria, and back to the trees. Maria nodded. Without a word, she scooped up her son and started walking. They slipped through a wall of heavy brush that concealed a narrow, well-worn path. Leah followed. Above them, howler monkeys swung through the branches, pausing for sudden brawls that sent leaves raining down like jungle confetti. Their shrieks tore through the canopy, sounding too human. Leah had read about the Petén jungle, its biodiversity, its dangers, but nothing had prepared her for this. She muttered a prayer under her breath, asking that no jaguar cross their path. The moist earth swallowed their footsteps. Bugs swarmed her face, bit her neck and arms. Sweat soaked her clothes. The humidity trapped beneath the thick canopy. Droplets formed on her skin, streaking muddy trails down her arms. The stink of her own underarms made her gag. She tried to keep her elbows pinned tight, but vines and branches dragged at her limbs with every step. The jungle wasn't just watching, it was grabbing. On the edge of collapse from the heat and thirst, she stumbled through a dense tangle just as Maria leapt forward without hesitation, straight into the water. Leah stripped off her shirt, pants, and shoes, then followed, diving headlong into the cold water. She surfaced with a gasp, breath stolen by the shock. Goosebumps raced across her skin as the chill wrapped her like a second layer. It took a few minutes before she could move again. Maria was already scrubbing Leah's shirt against a rock, using leaves plucked from a nearby bush that formed into a natural lather. Leah copied her, crushing the leaves between her palms. The foam smelled of heavy flowers and cool mint, and just breathing it in made her feel cleaner. As the suds faded, she gathered more leaves, working them over every inch of her skin until she was rinsed, raw, and oddly renewed. Maria walked to a tree near the bank where a rope trailed from a branch into the water. She hauled up a heavy wooden box built from cargo flats. When it creaked open, it revealed 3 cases of salvavita, cool from the river, though not ice cold. They had no opener. Maria grabbed a jagged rock and popped the caps with precise strikes. Together, they gathered their clothes and crossed into a nearby clearing where the sun burst through the canopy like a floodlight. Maria draped Leah's shirt over a low bush, then sat in the shade and motioned for her to join. Leah did. They drank in silence, sipping warm beer as the jungle closed around them. Every sound, bird call, buzz, crack of a branch, seemed magnified by the quiet between them. Then a low rumble. Leah froze mid-sip. A truck! She choked as the sound rolled through the trees. She turned, straining to catch its direction. When she looked back, Maria and the boy were already asleep on the soft, leafy ground. For a moment, Leah just sat there, listening, thinking, plotting. She began retracing their path in her mind. Turns, fallen limbs, patches of tangled brush. Could she find her way back here alone? The walk back to the hut, with a few extra beers tucked under her arm, felt different. Less about bugs, less about fear. She was watching now, measuring, remembering. Both women sighed with relief when they reached the hut. A silent agreement passed between them. Better to arrive before the men returned. Leah slipped her notebook from her backpack and, keeping her movements casual, began sketching a rough diagram of the path they had taken. She worked quickly, hoping Maria wouldn't notice, and before Alejandro or Mike came back. As sunset filtered through the trees in muted hues of gray and gold, the drone of the returning panga broke the silence. The men hauled in their catch, fresh fish, breadfruit, coffee, corn, and beans. Maria moved with practiced speed, boiling water over the open. Soon, the rich scent of brewing coffee rose into the heavy jungle air. Here, smoke, smells, even the smallest sounds seemed to linger. The jungle hemmed in the hut so tightly that nothing moved quickly, not even the wind. It was the kind of place where things stayed, and that unsettled Leah. If the scent of coffee clung to leaves, if fire smoke stayed trapped beneath the canopy, how long would the poisons sprayed in this air remain? How long did it eventually really take? At least Hector had kept his promise. There had been no more spraying near Maria's house, a small mercy in a place where everything else felt steeped in danger. Maria was clearly Alejandro's partner, but there was no tenderness between them. He stayed cool and detached, especially with her child, whom he barely acknowledged. Leah suspected the boy's father was someone else, but she didn't ask. Why ask? He seemed to know what she was thinking anyway. She forced her mind onto trivial things to keep from obsessing over the little river, the place she might escape to. She had considered returning, but Alejandro's perceptive gaze made her cautious. It was as if he could read her mind. Mosquitoes the size of beer caps buzzed in her ears. Strangely, she welcomed them. The noise, the itching, even the stinging bites, they were distractions from bigger, more dangerous thoughts. She hadn't slept in days. The hammock swayed under her as she tossed, scratched, and moaned through the nights. Meanwhile, the others slept with ease, indifferent to the jungle's swarm. Earlier that day she had quietly repacked her backpack. 2 beers sat on top, her only drinkable liquid, since there wasn't a single container with a lid to carry water. Beneath them were her clothes, a toothbrush, and her 9mm. Her MP3 player was zipped into the front pocket. Potential barter. She figured if she found a local with a motorbike or a truck. Her phone was useless, with no way to charge it, sat in the same pouch. Tucked inside the large flap was her journal, ready to grab if she got a chance to write or needed proof of who she was. She waited until the fire's embers dimmed to a deep orange and the soft chorus of snores confirmed everyone else was asleep. Carrying her shoes in one hand, the pack over her shoulder, she slipped behind the hut. Once hidden, she tugged on her hiking boots. They were stiff but necessary. The jungle floor at night was a maze of vines, insects, and worse. The moon was full, but under the canopy it offered no light. The darkness was absolute, deeper than anything she had ever known. She clicked on her tiny keychain flashlight. The beam barely reached 2 feet, yet she pressed forward. By day, the path had seemed easy. Now it twisted into shadows and fear. Every sound made her jump. The hiss of insects, the rustle of branches. Predators hunted at night. She whispered a prayer and clenched her jaw. She wasn't stopping, not until she found a road or the truck she had heard in the distance. The river was colder at night, cutting through her clothes like icy needles. Her arms and legs throbbed from slamming into trees and tripping over roots. Still, she pressed forward, shivering and sore. On the muddy bank, she dug through her pack, pulling out a bra. She searched until she found 4 solid sticks, each about 3 feet long. One by one, she threaded them through the shoulder straps, then looped the back strap around the ends to bind them. It wasn't pretty, but it floated. She strapped her backpack onto the makeshift raft and slid it into the water. If Alejandro or Mike tracked her, they'd lose her trail once she entered the stream. That was the plan. The current was gentle but steady. She waded in, the cold water rising to her chest, fingers clenched around the bra strap. The moment she tried to climb fully onto the raft, it buckled and slipped under, too weak to hold her weight. Still, it didn't break apart. She pulled it back, pushed it down near her hips, and leaned forward until her torso rested on the bundle of sticks. It didn't float, not really, but it kept her pack dry and gave her something to grip while she kicked her feet. Her toes brushed the rocky bottom, giving her a fragile sense of control. She drifted forward, legs steering, arms hugging the raft. The jungle loomed in darkness, but she fixed on the feel of the water and the quiet rush ahead. She didn't exactly know where she was going, only that it was away. And for now, that was